Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Pop.vox Presents. I am Phil Vecchio, and we're glad to have you guys here. And with me for a very special conversation today, I have Andre Salles. Andre,
Hi,
thanks
Phil.
for being here.
Thank you. It's an honor. I appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, we're very, very excited for today. It's going to be a fun conversation. We also have over here to my left, we have Janelle. Janelle, say hey.
Hi, everybody.
My wonderful wife. As always, going to be running stuff behind the scenes.
Yes, I am.
You're good over there, all set to go.
I am.
And if you guys have comments, questions, if you're watching live, if you're watching us live right now, make sure you go into the comment section below and you guys can ask questions for Andre and we'll pass them along. Janelle's going to be monitoring the chat area there. All good?
All good.
We're all set. We had quite an adventure getting started, but we're here and we're good to go. So, Andre, thank you again. Thank you so much for being here. You don't know me. We've never met. This is the first time we've ever spoken in person.
First time we've seen each other. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's I guess we did talk on the phone once. So to be fair, yeah. How did we meet? How did we meet? How did you come to find out who I was anyway?
Well, I think we're both part of the same Facebook group that's dedicated to this extremely narrow niche of music that we both love from the 90s Christian music. And I've been part of that group for a long time, and I have definitely seen you in there. And so I think that's how our paths crossed.
Absolutely, yes. From my perspective, I saw you post one day about this awesome album that you made at home, stuck at home during the pandemic. And, you talked about, I can't remember exactly what you said, but about how it was like, almost like homemade, like instruments that you didn't know how to play, right? That you put in this album. And I was like, that sounds cool. So I checked it out on Bandcamp and immediately bought it. And then later on, this was sometime, I don't know, last September, October, whenever it was. I don't know when you posted your Christmas EP exactly, but when I saw it, I was working on putting together our Christmas album. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I really wanted to use a song. So then out of the blue, I hit you up and I'm like, you don't know who I am, but I want to use your song on an album.
I'm so glad you did too. The collection is really cool. I'm really thrilled to be a part of it. I mean, some really excellent musicians on there. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That's really cool to hear. You don't have to like play favorites, but any particular ones come to mind, or do you know any of them off the top of your head that you really enjoyed?
I'm a big fan of Pacifico. So anything that guy does, I absolutely love. So yeah, that one was big for me. But I mean, I really did like all of them. Like we were saying earlier, it's a really sort of minor key kind of not your jolly Christmas album. And I really appreciated that. I appreciated that contrast to a lot of the Christmas music that we get.
That's awesome. I mean, it's funny because like I said to you earlier, I didn't request that from artists. All I did is reach out to artists that wanted to be involved and say, hey, send me a Christmas song. And that's what we got. And it was a lot of that, a lot of minor key, a lot of just more somber approach to Christmas music. And it's fantastic. And we've done two other ones before and we've had, a mix of that, but this one was largely that. And, and it's great. And so when I was looking for that perfect song to open it up, and I just, choosing the order of the tracks is very important to me. I love, ever since I was making mixtapes on, cassette back in the 90s, like just picking that order, it's all very important. And so I just didn't have that opening song. And then I heard your EP and I was like, that's it. Of course, you came up with the idea to open an EP with it before I did, but still, it worked well.
I'm really glad. Thank you so much. If you don't mind my asking, what did you dig about it? Because I get so little, feedback about the stuff that I do.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that one in particular, I love the way it starts sort of just like a very simple piano take on the song. And then like, as it goes, it kind of builds up to almost a crescendo where you have your vocals. Cause I'm pretty sure all of your stuff is instrumental, but you use like ahs and oohs and stuff for vocals, right? There's no lyrics ever.
Right. Never lyrics, lots of vocals. Yeah.
So I just love that. It starts out, instrumental, and then it builds up and you start getting your oohs and ahs. And then you have, I don't know, it sounds like you're banging on pots and pans or something.
I am.
Is it literally pots and pans?
That's awesome.
It's literally pots and pans.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It just sounds like and that. I mean, I can't
Yep.
reproduce it,
All
but
the
it just
bongos that I do are the inside of the sink. The bass drum is me smacking a cabinet down.
yes.
It's all just homemade. Yeah.
That's what it sounds. It just sounds great. It builds up to this great crescendo. It's sort of like in a minor key, but it's got a lot of energy, and then just okay. Here's what you got. Get ready for this album. It's just a perfect opening for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun to make, and it was a lot of work to mix.
I can imagine.
Getting all that stuff to sit nicely together next to each other is really hard. So.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I don't know what your technique is, but while this stuff sounds, I mean, like I could identify that it was probably something in your kitchen. It doesn't sound like you're just, popping your boombox in there and hitting record. It sounds very well done, but it also has this very cool homemade feel to it. So.
Thank you. It is entirely just garage band. So, I mean, I can tell you the story of how a lot of this stuff came to be.
Yes, please.
So I'm by no means a professional musician. I wrote a music column for about 20 years, and that's the closest that I've come to any sort of professional music, anything. But I have always made music like for myself, so starting in, junior high school, I started, putting my own music together, just learning how to do it. And I made, hours and hours of stuff, 18 projects, under my own name as as I was going through college, out of college, up through 2001. And then I just kind of stopped. I kind of just drifted away from it. And all of the equipment that I had to do it either broke or, I had software that I changed computers and it just wasn't there anymore. So I just didn't replace it. I thought I was really out of it. So I was thinking about how to get back into it after I ended the music column. I was like, I'd like to still have a connection to music. I'd like to see if I can, get back into it a little bit and make some more music for myself. So I started with this idea of easing in by just making up piano pieces and recording them on important pianos throughout my life, right? So I had the piano at my mother's house, which is what I learned on, and I recorded one on there, and I was happy with it. I used to work at Fermi National Auxiliary Laboratory, and they have a grand piano there, and it's beautiful. And I wrote and recorded one on there that's got little physics concepts in the middle of it. So it's a lot of fun. So I started doing that. And then in March of 2020, the strangest thing happened. Mm-hmm. I no longer was able to go out and field record. So we were all sort of stuck in our houses, and I started thinking of this as something that I could do to maybe get through this pandemic. It was something unlike anything that I ever experienced, anything that anybody, that I know has ever experienced. And I think we all had to come up with different strategies and ways to get through it. And making strange music in my house was kind of mine. So the problem is I didn't have anything, right? I had GarageBand on my laptop. I had a podcasting microphone. It really literally is a $30 podcasting microphone. I did everything on. I had an upright piano that I hadn't tuned in a few years. So it was, and I had an acoustic guitar that was gifted to me from a friend of mine that I didn't and don't know how to play. So that was kind of it. So everything else was trying to, figure out if I could make something with all of that. And I ended up, it ended up being a really interesting challenge. It got me through that first year of the pandemic, and I ended up using a lot of it as a metaphor for the pandemic and a way of getting a lot of my thoughts out about it. Right. So, I made 2 projects during the pandemic. The first one's really like a pandemic diary. It's kind of like downtrodden and like I'm stuck in my house. And then 20, the one that is on my is a lot more joyous, and it was more like, here's the hope that gets us through, right? And it wasn't intentional. It didn't start off being like this extremely hopeful piece of work for me, but it just ended up that way. Everything that I did came out that way. And so yeah, it ended up just being a way that I got through it. And I mean, the metaphorical aspect of it for me was that I can't play guitar and I can't play so as I was trying to do. And so I think that's what we all had to do, right? We all had to just kind of buckle down and do it, even though we didn't know how. And so that became sort of like can I learn enough to make it sound like it's something worth listening to? And so, I mean, it's up to everybody else to let me know if I did it, but I mean, I was really happy with how that came out. So, So yeah, the Christmas album with the Christmas EP was the sort of the tail end of all of that too, of the stuff that I was making at home. And just, that I had done a few of these like percussion sculpture things where, I'm banging on like, and that was the one that you picked to open the Christmas collection was my favorite that I'd put together. It was, I mean, all of these bizarre percussion instruments kind of sitting next to each other nicely and propelling everything along. And it's all just kitchen stuff.
That's so awesome. That is so cool. That's what drew my attention to your post in the first place. I remember you said, hey, I've got this album I recorded on a piano and a guitar that I don't know how to play. And I'm like, I need to hear that. I don't know what that's going to sound like, but I need to find out what that is. And it's so great. And I can't remember which album, because you kind of have on your Bandcamp, you have a little description of kind of the backstory of it. And one of the songs or one of the albums you mentioned that you bought like a whistle or a recorder or something that you didn't know how to play, and you included that on there too. It just cracked me up, but it works. Like you figured out a way to integrate it, and I love that sort of like artistic, like you have your thesis statement and you deliver on that, and it's fantastic.
The other element of it is the voice, which I'm so self-conscious about my voice. I don't like it at all, but it was the only sustained instrument I had, right? It's the only way to make melodies.
Right.
Right. So I had to use it. And I grew more comfortable as the process went along. But like every vocal take you hear is like number 809, right? Like it's just like, no, what's wrong? No, I didn't get it right. No, and some of them are still like, not thrilled about it, but,
I think they turned out fantastic. It's so cool. I mean, I don't know, the way it's layered sometimes, it's beautiful. It all works together. It creates this whole that even though there's all these little parts that some of you may or may not know how to do, it all comes together, and it's great. And my kids think it's really funny that you bought a whistle or something that you didn't know how to play and you put on your album. They really like that. So.
That was a lot of fun.
That's great. Do you have? Oh, Janelle's telling me we have some comments and questions over here. What do we got?
So, first of all, remember you said there were some technical difficulties.
Yes.
Our resident sound extraordinaire Dave said sounds great.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
If we get a sounds great from Dave,
then we're okay.
We're good.
He's the one that helped us to get it rolling right beforehand.
But we have I just asked where people are listening from. We have Marilyn from Big Bear here in California, Melissa from Big Bear, Terry is watching from Phoenix, Arizona.
Nice.
So
welcome everyone.
Have, people here that are excited. Our kids said they're watching from the couch.
That's good.
Here in Ukaipa. And they're also so excited to hear the music.
Yes, we will have some of that in just a moment. We've got some good selections here.
So, just wanted to do that before you
excellent. Music. Thank you everyone for commenting. If you have any questions, let us know. And if you're watching this later on YouTube or on Facebook, remember when you watch live, you get to ask questions. So it's pretty cool. So yes, I absolutely love it. In fact, it's funny because I got the album, I listened to it right away, but it's 20 songs long also. And so it's a lengthy progress. It's a lengthy project. That's the word I'm trying to say. So I listened to it a bit, loved it at home, but didn't really get a chance to kind of dive into it. The first time that I actually listened to it all the way through, it was very memorable for me because it was like our first time we'd ventured out on a trip. We love to travel, but obviously a lot of that got shut down. But, as things kind of started to open up again a little bit, we went on a trip and we did a lot of like hiking out in the mountains and stuff, try to stay away from people, a lot of outdoor type of things. And so we did a trip and we were driving back home on these like back roads through the Sierra Nevada mountains. Very beautiful. It's still, even though it was summer, you can still see snow up on the peaks, and we drove, and my brother and I, my other brother, Matthew, was in the car with me. And we listened to that. I'm like, oh, you got to hear this thing. This is really cool. I haven't gotten to listen all the way. And we listened to it. And it's like the perfect soundtrack to go through like these gorgeous scenes and see, all this stuff and then hear your music. I'm not saying it's the only way to listen to it, but it's a highly recommended way to listen to the album. So.
Oh, I really love that. Thank you.
Yeah. It was great. And so I'm pretty sure your entire collection, you've got, is it A Dream of Outside, right? That's the first
Dream
one?
of Outside was the sort of the pandemic diary one. Yeah.
Right. and then 20, and then
And
the
yeah.
Christmas EP.
Yep.
Now,
And
you
so
mentioned
20
recording all that stuff early in life. Was that ever released, or was that just like for personal
No,
collection?
it's all just personal collection. I mean, a couple of my friends have heard some of it, but it's all just stuff that I did for myself, you know. Um, in the year 2000, I spent the entire year working on a 3-hour instrumental prog rock opera. So that's one of the projects. And every
Wow.
once in a while, I go back and listen to that again. I'm like, what was I thinking? What is this?
I mean, I'm so curious to hear it though when you mention that, and I know, I mean, that's like the ultimate limited release of like something that only you and your friends have heard. Now I need to hear
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, there's 18 of those. Yeah. So it's the 20 is called 20 partially because it's the 20th thing that I've done.
Oh,
Yeah, it's 20 songs made in 2020, but it's also my 20th project. So I thought it
that's
was
cool. That's some
interesting.
synergy there. I like that.
Yeah, so I put that thing out on Bandcamp, and I give all my stuff away for free. People can have it if they want it. I'm not trying to make any money on it. I'm not really I'm not a professional musician, as I said. But the guy who runs my record store, the record store that I go to every week, this guy named Steve Orenfeldt, and the record store is Kiss the Sky in Batavia, Illinois. And he heard it and really liked it and said, why don't we put this on vinyl? And I said, well, why don't we put this on vinyl? and so we did. Yeah, and that was, that was a real crash course in getting a vinyl produced. That's something that I'll be a lot better at next time. But it literally took a year to get it back from the pressing plant. But I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, it looks so good.
It's really pretty. It came out looking really nice. Even it's a gatefold because it's a double, so you've got all this in there. It looks really cool to me. And I was really worried about how it would look, mainly because this cover photo is by a photographer I really like named Jason Delancey. He lives in Aurora, Illinois, and this is from downtown Aurora. And I cannot explain why this photo is the album to me, but it absolutely is. It just speaks the whole record to me, this image. So I was so pleased that Jason let me use it, and so pleased that it looks so nice on the vinyl.
It really does. I would like to get my hands on it, but there is a little bit of a situation where we can't quite order it yet, right?
Not quite yet. So yeah, we did. We got the records in November of last year, and we did a release show at Kiss the Sky in December, and it is on sale there. But we haven't gotten it together to put an order form together so that people can order it from outside of the area. As of now, Steve is the exclusive retailer.
That's cool
for the record, which is cool. But yeah, no, we are working on it, and we'll get that together so that people will be able to order it and get it shipped to them.
All right, excellent. I'm going to be looking into that because I do need to have that in my not insignificant vinyl collection, as you can ask my wife here.
I'm showing a little bit of my CD collection behind me now.
I can see that. Yes, there's a reason we're in the same music groups and hit it off.
You guys are CD buddies.
Our walls in our bedroom are lined on all sides with a music collection. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm not ashamed of it at all. It's fantastic.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, no, I tell people my fortunes in CDs, they think I'm talking about something completely different. So.
Right. I know. I always tell Janelle, like, if anything was to happen to me, like, here's a list of my friends who would know what to do with this, because it's valuable to the right person,
Exactly. Yeah, some stuff is rare, but only to people who know what it is.
Yep.
and add to their collection. So yeah, you definitely need that. You need a buddy to come in afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it in the right hands.
Don't just dump it off somewhere, because if someone that doesn't know.
Right. No, it's lovingly curated, right? It's lovingly collected over so long, right? That you definitely want it treated with respect. So
my Starflyer vinyl alone could definitely help out with some bills, So
absolutely.
Just FYI.
I do have a question about the vinyl.
Oh, we got a question about vinyl.
Okay.
So Terry asked, can you sell the vinyl through Bandcamp?
Yes, we can, and that's just something we haven't set up either. So it's it's a little complicated, but we will manage to get it out so that people can order it as soon as we can. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. That's good. Well, I'll be continually reminding you until it happens. So.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
We need the push. So,
I'm sharing
God,
the Bandcamp link
Excellent.
in the comments in
thank you
case
very much.
anybody wants to bookmark that.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. I mean, that should just emphasize the not a professional musician part of this conversation, though, right? Like, I have a vinyl, I haven't done anything with it yet. So.
Well, I have to say though, like, it's also the most like artist type of statement ever, because I can't tell you how many artists I've worked with that are like, oh no, like I don't know, I'm not a musician, I'm just this and whatever. And I'm like, no, you made 3 albums now, or 2 albums and an EP, you got a vinyl record, you're a professional musician whether you like it or not. And it's good and it's great. People want to hear it, so you know.
Thank you.
You can tell yourself that if it helps, but you're a musician now. It's too late.
It's a nice cover, right? It's a nice cover for all the stuff I don't like about it. So.
It is. You said you wrote for a column for 20 years. What publication did you write for it, by the way? I'm just curious. This is going back.
Yeah, so it was mine. So it's called Tuesday Morning 3 a.m., which is a play on Simon & Garfunkel's Wednesday Morning 3 a.m.
Okay.
And it's all online at tm3am.com. I've got 20 years of archives. They're all set up by artists as well. So if you're interested in a particular artist, you can see what I said about it. But I wrote one of those a week for 20 years.
That's awesome. TM3am.
tm3am.com. Yep.
Make note of that. TM3am. Okay, that's awesome. So I wasn't aware of that. I've got some archives to dig through now. This is good.
Thank you. Yeah. No, it was a really great thing for me to do for as long as I did. I met some great people through it. Some lifelong friends I have made through doing the column, and it just got to the point where it was, the weekly deadline was starting to get like, so
yeah,
I just
a lot of work.
Do other things. Yeah, I just want to do other things. But 20 years is a good run, I thought. So
20
is the magic number.
I'm seeing a pattern here. This is good.
Yep.
Well, speaking of Bandcamp and all this fantastic music, I think it's time for us to hear some of the music, especially for those in the audience who maybe don't know what it sounds like, have heard these amazing descriptions of it. Let's do it. So we're going to go and you're going to introduce each of 3 different songs here. So the first one we've got is We Move On. Tell us about what we need to know about this video here.
Sure. So during the pandemic, the only way that I got out of the house was to take long, aimless drives to nowhere, right? It was just like in the middle of the afternoon, it was just like, I need to get out. And so I would just drive for an hour and a half. And a lot of the songs on the record came to me during those drives, but it became just like a symbol of that time, just driving aimlessly through different areas. So We Move On is a song that definitely came to me through that. There's a lot of on the record sort of a repetitive trudging sort of through the day, and that the central figure of that repeats a lot in this. And so that was sort of the thinking behind that. And the video that I made for it is just sort of it works on that same symbolism of the long drives, right? It's just shot out the windows of my car as I'm doing one of the long drives. So yeah, it's one of the more straightforward ones, but it's one that I really liked. It's one that I really liked how it came out.
Excellent. All right, well, let's go to it. Here we have We Move On.
I'm in Montgomery, Illinois, and yeah, that's in and around there. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Very weird. Yeah. Yeah. Everything that I put on 20 feels to me like that year to me. It feels like, there's something of my experience of that year in every track, and that was one that's really vivid for me. Like this feels like how I got through it. So
I did the thing that I said that I wasn't going to do anymore. I muted myself, but everyone heard you, so we're good.
oh.
Just that little bit there, just a bit. Anyway.
Oh, that's.
I love it. I love what you had to say, and all I was saying when I was muted.
Thank goodness for the comments.
I know. Thank you in the comments, whoever pointed that out there. All I was saying is that I love it. I love that you have that sense of like joy and release of being out of the house for a little bit, which it was during a weird time, and I can relate to that. I feel for that. I mean, there was times when we did like, let's just go drive and see what's going on out there, because there's not much.
I remember
there is still a world out there.
Yeah, I remember like one of our first road trips was to the Lego store.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they were doing like social distance delivery.
They bring it out to your car, right?
And we were like, what? We hadn't been out of the house in months. Yeah. It was
let's go drive to the Lego store.
But we wanted to get Legos to do at home.
Yeah, we had to do something.
Yes.
So I was like, in the video, I was looking at all the stores and stuff in your town.
Yeah.
Because it was so interesting.
That's great. I saw at one point in the video a, what do you call it? A cell phone tower that looks like it's disguised as a palm tree. I could be wrong because we have those around here, but we actually have palm trees here. So
yeah, we don't have palm trees, so that's not a good disguise here.
It wasn't very well hidden, no. Anyway, that was fun seeing that. Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, up next we have Valley of the Shadow. Tell us about Valley of the Shadow.
Yeah, this is one that I just kind of wanted to showcase when you asked me for songs. The video I can tell you is just I found some copyright-free animations on YouTube, downloaded them, put them to this. So there's nothing to the video. It just goes with the mood a little bit. But the song, like I said earlier, I'm really self-conscious about my voice, and I really wanted to stretch that. I wanted to try to push myself out of my comfort zone on a lot of what this is, a lot of what this album turned out to be, but especially when it came to the singing and arranging of vocals. So this is one that is almost entirely vocal. So there's a little bit of a drum pattern behind it. There's bongos in the sync behind it. It's and there's an acoustic guitar later on that strums a little bit and some backward stuff, detail, but almost everything on it is just vocal track after vocal track after vocal track. There's like 45 or 50 vocal tracks on this thing.
So cool.
They're trying to put together. Yeah. Brian Wilson's one of my heroes. So nobody arranges vocals that way. So I'm, it's always me trying to go for my Brian Wilson merit badge. And but I was really happy with how this one turned out. I mean, every vocal that you hear, like I said, is take 800 and something. It's every single one I did over and over and over and over again, and then painstaking editing for it. But I was really, really pleased with how that came out. So it's one of the weirder ones, one of the darker ones, but I get it. It's one that I wanted to let people hear if they're interested in hearing what I did.
Awesome. All right, here we go with Valley of the Shadow. I love it even more now that I know that that's a kitchen sink I'm hearing in there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. So every guitar chord that you hear on this
Yeah.
record, trust that I Googled how to play it before I recorded it. That's me
That's
going
awesome.
online, I need an E minor and I don't know how to do it. How do I do it?
That's so great. I mean, again, you wouldn't know from what you hear on there that you don't know how to play guitar. So
Thank you. It
that's
was
really cool.
thanks very much.
Just Googling it. That's fantastic.
That's really talented. Yeah, on We Move On, there's a chord on there that I don't even know what it is, because I couldn't figure out how to get the chords I needed, so I just down-tuned the guitar.
That's great. Yeah.
I can play it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, we got a comment here. A question here. What do we got? All right, we got loving it. Eric says, Terry says, trippy video, but it does fit the music well.
Thank you.
Eric also says, great music.
Oh, thanks so much.
That's awesome. Yeah, it does have like a Space Mountain or Tron feel to the video, so I get that.
Yeah.
The animations are cool.
Yeah. But it fits well. It works. It's awesome. You know, it's funny too. I don't know if this is like an accurate description, but sometimes some of your music, that one has a bit of it. You know, whenever you're banging on the pots and pans or whatever, it almost has like an industrial feel to it. You know, like Old Mortal kind of stuff. I know people might know, where it's actually, you know, sounds like machinery. It's not obviously that same style at all, but it makes me have some of those same feels, you know?
Yeah, there's one song on there where I tried for that. It's called Car Crash. It's the second track on there where I tried for sort of a mechanistic feel. Like the snare drum on that is me banging, and there's a Planters can and I'm banging with a knife.
Right.
You know? So I'm really trying for a mechanistic feel on that. But yeah, I love industrial music. I always have, you know,
Awesome.
since first hearing Ministry back in the 90s. Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad I was not like mishearing that. I got that feel.
Oh,
like, again, like overall, I wouldn't describe it as industrial, but I feel some of those elements in there. So
yeah,
that's
thank
cool.
you.
So we have one last video here. It's the unboxing of the 20 album, and tell us about what song is with it and what we need to know here.
Sure. Yeah. So the song is called High Strung, and since I can't play guitar, I tried to figure out ways that I could, you know, make interesting sounds with the guitar without having to know how to play it. So it's called that because there's a repeated sort of scratchy sound that is me just playing the top strings of the guitar after, you know, before they hit the ding,
right
ding, ding,
above,
ding.
yeah. And then
Doing that in a rhythmic pattern and then just manipulating it and trying to make it sound cool and putting stuff over it. So so that's the song that you're going to hear there. It's got my favorite solo on it too, the piano solo. I was pretty happy with, and that's featured in the video. So.
Awesome. Now it does have an ad for the album release party on it. I think I'm gonna let it play through so you can hear like everything, you know, song wise. But you guys missed it. Sorry. So don't get your hopes up.
We can talk about it.
Go back in time.
Now, at one point you had said you were going to video it. Did that not happen, or?
It didn't happen. No.
Okay.
A mix of technical issues and self-consciousness. Yeah.
Okay. So there's no evidence that it ever happened except for in the
there
mind.
is a recording of it. We did audio record it.
Okay.
And yeah, we're looking through the tracks to see if there's stuff that we can use and maybe put out. So it'd be really cool if people could hear it.
That's cool. But it went well, though. It sounded like it was a...
Oh my gosh. It went
fun.
so well. Yeah. We had about 40 people come, and some people from out of state, a couple of my friends from Massachusetts boarded a plane and just kind of showed up without telling me they were going to do it,
That's
which is
cool.
great. I had 3 really, really great musicians backing me up. Just 3 really good friends of mine, Matt McCain, Kevin Trudeau, and Chad Watson, playing bass guitar and drums, and just filling out that sound. And they worked really hard to not only learn the material, but really reinvent it. So if you do get to hear this, it sounds nothing like the record. That was my goal, in fact, was to be able to say on the stage, if you like what we're doing up here, the record sounds nothing like this at all. But that was fun. And then we had a friend of mine named Aaron Ribsky come in on saxophone just on the last song, and it was a big surprise for the audience. We had him in the back.
That's cool.
Great. It was a really good time.
Well, I would very much like to hear at least part of that. So, you know, there's an audience for it.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll see what we can put together.
That's cool. So you didn't have to teach them like the chord tunings that you did. They just figured it out on their own.
They can figure those out. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, no, they're way better musicians than I am.
Well, let's hear a little bit. We'll see the opening, and again, a little ad for the album release party that already happened. So
Thanks.
here we go.
That was the song we closed with on the show, and I think we jammed on it for a good 15 minutes.
So. Oh, that's awesome. So did you play the whole album, or you did like selections? Okay.
We picked the ones that we thought would translate the best live, right? Like the ones with all of the vocal layering, we just couldn't, there's no way we could have done. We only had a couple of weeks to practice it too. Right. So yeah, we picked some of the more straightforward ones, but then sort of blew those up a little bit too in a live set.
That's awesome.
Just making them louder. So.
Now, did you do any vocalizations live, or is it you did? Okay.
Yeah, we did harmonies. Yeah,
there's nice.
Kevin, Chad, and I did the 3-part harmonies on the songs when it required them. One of them I got to do a really nice synthesizer solo too for like as long as I wanted, which was really good.
That's cool.
Just had a really, really fun time. So.
Awesome. Well, I hope that we get a chance to hear, some selections from it, because it sounds really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope you do too.
Okay, good. Any last things we need to know here, Janelle?
So we do have a couple
comments.
Love that song. Was a perfect fit. So that's what we got.
Well, good comments. So. Whether or not there's questions, good comments. We appreciate that. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, Andre, I want to say thank you again so much for being here today. This is great.
Thank you so much for having me, Phil. It's really great. I'm so pleased when the stuff that I do for myself resonates with other people. And thank you so much for including me in the Christmas compilation, having me on today. It's just been a real pleasure.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that we got to connect. We got to do something together, and we'll have to make sure something else goes on. Who knows?
Absolutely. Thank you.
So before we let everyone go, can you just remind everyone where we can find your music? And, I know it's not everywhere, but there's some spots people can buy stuff. And let us know if they're local, where they could buy your record as well. Because you never know. There could be locals.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. So all of the stuff that I've done since the pandemic started is on andresalles.bandcamp.com. It's all there for free. You can take it, download it if you want to. And if you'd like to buy the record, the only place to do it right now is Kiss the Sky in Batavia. We will get an order form up shortly so that people who are not around Batavia, Illinois, can pick it up.
Excellent. And Janelle shared links to the Bandcamp in the chat there in the comments. So if you're on Facebook, you can check that out there as well. And we'll put it on the YouTube.
You can also buy Pop.vox Christmas Volume 3 at.
Yes.
That's true, and you can. That is one physical way that you can buy a song by Andre that's available right now at pop.vox.music.com, Pop.vox Christmas Volume 3.
You can listen to Christmas music all year long.
That's right. It's always appropriate. This album in particular, I feel like, would work throughout the year,
I think it's right. Yep, I think that's right.
I'm going to say that anyway. So Awesome. Well, thank you again, Andre, and thank you so much for everyone who's watching live, or if you're watching this later on. We appreciate you joining us. We do have another one coming up in March with Eric Kennedy. We'll probably be adding a couple more dates in February, but we're still working on booking those right now. So keep an eye out for more Pop.vox Presents. And Andre, one more question I got to ask. What's next? What are we working on? Do we have another project in mind?
It's a great question. I have a few ideas for things, and I have started to buy some of the some new equipment so that I don't have to rely on GarageBand and pots and pans. So as cool as all that stuff is, but yeah, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know what the next thing's going to be yet. So, but I will definitely keep you in the loop.
All right, excellent. I will be looking forward to that. Very cool. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Janelle, for helping to run everything here and make everything go as smooth as it did. And that's going to do it for this show. So we'll see you guys next time on another episode of Pop Vox Presents. Have a great day, everybody.